now has an estimate that shows us how many vehicles Tesla delivered in the US, and Tesla does not let us know how many vehicles it delivered in the US, so we have to figure it out ourselves. Near the end of Q4, it seemed Tesla might deliver more cars in China than in the US, but latest data shows that did not happen. In China, demand for Model Y is high, and you can see that in China, Tesla delivered 172,000 vehicles. In the US, Tesla delivered 177,800 in Q4. So still, we are delivering more cars in the US. James says, this is juicy. And Chuck says, this is a great update and it's good content. So let's check this out. This is all going to be about FSD version 12. We are pleased to share that as of this weekend, Tesla has begun internal testing of Actually Smart Summon on company-owned vehicles based on V12 end-to-end architecture. In late November, we saw the first iteration of V12 go from internal development builds to the first employees within the company, so mostly executives. A little under a month later, on December 21st, V12.1 expanded to include team leads and managers across North America. Just a week later, we saw V12.1 expand into Wave 1, Tesla's early access program for employee-owned vehicles. Seems like this account has some insider sources because they are saying that as long as we get a bigger wave of FSD version 12.1 released to some of these employees, we should have FSD version 12 released to the public before the earnings call. And indeed, we have seen that Wave 1 deployment earlier. So it is expected that we will have FSD version 12, all of us perhaps, before the earnings call, which would be within the next 1 or 2 weeks roughly. The earnings call is on January 24th. And if you compare V11 to V12, V12 is rolling out faster so far. Based on what's happening here, it's a difference of almost 3 months. Since the initial release of V12, we have received at least a dozen reviews and feedback from employees, which we have summarized below. 72% expressed improvements in human-like behavior and general stability, 20% noted no change, 8% noted some worsened experiences, 40% expressed improvements with roundabouts, 50% noted no change, 10% noted some worsened experiences, 37% expressed improvements in lane keeping, 60% noted no change, 3% noted some worsened experiences, so clearly it's getting better. For transparency purposes, all employees included in the results above reside in California. Tesla Scope also says that we are remaining hopeful for the release of V12 in late January, so not before the earnings call. I guess it would be after the earnings call then. Also, they say there's a likely chance of Actually Smart Summon slipping into the later end of Q1. But looking at these numbers, while clearly there's progress, it doesn't seem that everyone noticed only improved experiences. Some had worsened experiences. I think if you want to have Actually Smart Summon, it means it has to work almost perfectly, pretty much perfectly, every single time. And it cannot have any issues where you're gonna be worried. So I think for Actually Smart Summon to actually be useful to people, we would have to see no noticeable changes in terms of people still reporting, this new version is worse than the previous one. These numbers, I think, would have to be pretty much at 0. That's my personal guess. I hope I'm wrong about this one, but I wouldn't keep my hopes up for Actually Smart Summon. My guess is that after this Actually Smart Summon, we are going to have another version of Actually, for real, Smart Summon. Another thing that's very important to point out is, even though some of these numbers are not super high, for example, 40% expressed improvements with roundabouts, which means 50% saw no change and 10% noted some worsened experiences, I would ideally like to see something like 99% of the people express improvements with roundabouts. Then it's absolutely obvious the new version is much better. But remember, these are all people in California, and in California, FSD in many places is already really good. So if it's already driving really well and you drive on FSD all the time because it's just so good already. Yeah. How can you notice that it gotten even better if it's already really good? So if these reviews were coming from people outside of California and outside of Austin, then I think that data would be much more valuable. I think this data is but keep in mind this is still it's not even beta. It's just it's a beta of a beta because it's only released to the employees. So we want to be really careful about how we evaluate this report here.